All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome, Hoosier fans, to the first edition of the midweek assembly call. This will be Josh and my's weekly thing kind of going on every week from now till the end of the year. We will be talking about what's going on in the Big Ten, what you guys need to know about the upcoming Hoosier matchups, and what to look back on. Obviously, a lot to look back on and even much more to look forward to. But, first things first, we got to introduce ourselves. You guys aren't too familiar with us. So my name is Michael Dugan. I am one of two freshman interns for the assembly call this spring. The other one's on the other side of the camera. His name is Josh. We're both freshmen. That's pretty much it for icebreaker intros. Josh, you got anything?
No. I'm excited to get this going, get some airtime on the assembly call, a little weeknight action. So see what we got for you.
Yeah, this should be good. This should be a lot of fun too, because it'll provide a little bit of insight. What's going on around the Big Ten. You got Illinois and Minnesota coming up this weekend. I don't know how many Hoosier fans are worried about, this, under 500 Minnesota team right now, but maybe they should be worried. You got to keep listening. We'll tell you what to worry for and stuff like that. But, for now, let's have some fun with this. Let's preview what the Hoosiers have to do. And let's take a look around the Big Ten and see if anything big's going on, and we'll cover all it. Ready?
Yeah, let's go.
All right.
I'm ready.
Let's jump right into it. So, we've got Minnesota coming up this weekend. Road test for the Hoosiers, I believe. Road test for the Hoosiers. Their first meeting this year. Hoosiers undefeated in Big Ten play, alone in first, just ahead of Iowa with Maryland going down last night. The Golden Gophers this year in a down year. Richard Pitino's fourth season at the head. One of those. But they're really struggling, and they've been pretty solid, and they started pretty high when he took over, and it seems like they've been going downhill. And this season may put him on the hot seat, and they're really not playing well this year. They've only had one win since the 1st of December. That would have been their second win in that almost 2-month span, month and a half now. And that one win was against Chicago State. So for this matchup, Josh and I are going to break down, for each matchup actually, including this one, Josh and I are going to break down 3 things to look out for, 3, more or less keys to victory for the Hoosiers in their upcoming matchups. And this first one I'll take against Minnesota is Indiana's got to start out hot. Like I just said, Minnesota only has one win since the 1st of December, and that was against Chicago State, a team that in the Ken Palm rankings is very near the basement. They haven't had any great wins. They've lost a lot. They're not that great of a basketball team. That's not a great win, especially if you're in a conference like the Big Ten and you want to beat a team as hot as Indiana right now. They've only scored more than 70 once since that matchup, and they're coming off back-to-back cold shooting nights and scoring 60 points in back-to-back blowout losses in conference play. So I think what Indiana needs to do here is kind of, dip into their bag of tricks and have a little nostalgia and dig deep into what they had in the beginning of the year and start out hot. Because this is a team that's not going to light it up shooting, and they're not going to put an 80 on you. So if Indiana can jump out, early 10-4, maybe 10-2, and just go from there and stay hot from beyond the arc, make plays, get it down to Thomas Bryant, they should be fine. Nate Mason is the Gophers' leading scorer. He's not playing too well. He's 7 of 19 in his last 2 games from the field. They can shut him down. He's a little guard. If Yogi and Robert Johnson can shut him down, jump out in front early, they should be able to handle this game from the get-go, and it shouldn't be too difficult.
Yeah, this team's coming off a big 25-point loss to Nebraska, who Indiana beat kind of pulling away at the end, but still nonetheless got a road win against Nebraska. I don't know, if there's one thing that Minnesota can do well, it's Jordan Murphy. You got to keep him off the boards. He's second in the Big Ten in rebounding behind Caleb Swanigan for Purdue. Outside of Jordan Murphy, I don't know if there's very many bright spots. Maybe John King, who's kind of been there for a while. He's a senior forward at 6'9", might provide a little bit of a matchup issue. Could be interesting to see if Troy Williams gets matched up against him. But this is a Big Ten road game, so it's a big important game. But I don't know if Minnesota's going to be able to stay around long. If Indiana's shooting the ball well, come out hot like they did against Ohio State, it's going to be pretty tough for the Golden Gophers to stay around at home.
I agree with you there, and they don't really have a lot of firepower on both sides of the ball. And the bottom line for our third key here is Minnesota's terrible offensively. They score 70 a game, and that's almost ranked 250th in the entire country, which speaks for itself. It's absolutely terrible, and they only average 12 assists a game. So when they get those points, they're not really working the ball around. They don't have a lot of guys that can create their own shot, even though it's apparent that that's what they try and do with only 12 assists per game. So this is a great opportunity for the Hoosiers to step up defensively and repeat that Ohio State performance and kind of continue that momentum. But we'll see if they can do that. Then the trajectory of the whole season could change with Illinois coming into town next after that. That's a home game, which is another chance to finally tune defensively. We'll get to that in just a couple seconds. But, Minnesota is not good offensively. And if Indiana can jump on this and if Robert Johnson can step up, because he's obviously going to get a lot more minutes with the absence of James Blackman Jr. being done for the year now, he can really lead this team to a defensive standout. And I think that they will do that because Minnesota doesn't really have the weapons needed to upset a team unless Indiana doesn't bring it for whatever reason. And after an off week, maybe they will. They probably will. So we'll see, but they need to lock down defensively. That's the most important, in my opinion, is they'll score enough points, but they really need to lock down defensively because Minnesota just doesn't have anything.
Yeah, defense has been really the key to this season so far. It was the big question coming in early in the season in Maui and at Duke. It was an issue. And if you can kind of rally the troops and get it together for this game, at Minnesota, 198 in Ken Palm. Indiana, an 83% chance of victory, according to Ken Palm, a 10-point victory. So, I don't know, maybe Ken Palm's liking the Gophers to hang around a little bit in this one with Indiana pulling away at the end. Maybe Indiana's road track so far this season at Rutgers and Nebraska, not the strongest, only beating Rutgers by a couple points. And then Nebraska, also not too much of a big victory, but still, nonetheless, this is a Big Ten road game. And like I just said a couple minutes ago, you got to bring it in the Big Ten on the road.
Absolutely. Nothing's given. We can sit here and say Minnesota's terrible and they don't have a lot of offensive weapons and they don't play good defense and they don't move the ball. But at the end of the day, this is Big Ten basketball. Anything can happen on any given night. We saw Maryland go down last night. So Indiana's got to bring it. That's not a given when it comes into conference play. And we've learned that throughout the year and throughout the years and seasons that nothing's given on any night in college basketball. So obviously Indiana's got to bring it. But if they do, they'll have a chance to lock down defensively, make a big statement win, hopefully win by double digits, carry that momentum, and continue to stay in first in the Big Ten. So I'm looking forward to this one because I think we could really turn some heads, go 5-0 in the conference, and then go from there.
Yeah, this is at the barn. It's a fun place to play. The court's raised above. It's a little bit dark in there. So it's a fun atmosphere to have a Big Ten road game. And then with that, hopefully Indiana can get a good win on the road at Minnesota, maybe crack the AP rankings. They're 25th in the coaches poll right now, USA Today. But then after that, they come back home. They face an Illinois Fighting Illini team coming off a win at home against Purdue. Kendrick Nunn and Malcolm Hill both had great game shooting, and that is my first key to this game. You must contain the duo of guards, Kendrick Nunn and Malcolm Hill. They combined for 36.9 points per game, over 5 assists per game. Both shoot over 45% from the field. Nunn is a 43% three-point shooter. These are two high-profile guards that if they are on their game, Indiana's going to have trouble. And with a smaller Yogi Ferrell guarding one of these two, that could be an issue. If you might have to bring in, I don't know, maybe we see Harrison Diego come off the bench, a defensive specialist. Robert Johnson's going to have to step up his game on defense. This is a game where defense is going to be key. Indiana obviously can score the ball like the best of them. But in this game against Illinois, hopefully you can work on something in Minnesota, come back home and get a good offensive showing and kind of move that over to the defensive side as well by stopping Kendrick Nunn and Malcolm Hill, which is imperative in this game because they don't really have too much of a post presence. It's really just these two guards.
I agree with you there. And it doesn't stop with Hill and Nunn. Jalen Coleman-Lands and Michael Fink are the next two guys in line that can shoot. And they're both shooting over 40% from three. They're averaging in the low 20s in terms of minutes per game. And Fink has 7 straight games with a made three. And what's impressive about that, or what's even scary about that, if you want to go that far, is the guy's 6'10". And if you look at his numbers, this 6'10 forward some nights has gone out and taken 8 threes and 1 other field goal. He's gone 3 for 8 from 3 and 4 of 9 from the field on the night. So he can live with the 3 and he can die with the 3. But he also has had games where he only takes 1 or 2 and then has 8 or 9 field goal attempts from the field and then can get it down low too. So especially with a guy like Thomas Bryant, who hasn't quite proved himself defensively for Indiana. This guy kind of scares me, and I feel like he could be the X factor in this game, talking about Michael Fink from Illinois, because in the past, Illinois, John Gross's Illinois team specifically, have come back into games in which they are down by the three-pointer. And whether that be Kendrick Nunn or Brandon Paul or whoever it is, they have come back. And I've seen it happen. Everyone's seen it happen. Illinois comes back into games by hitting a couple threes because they don't really ever have a big offensive post presence, and they still don't. It's still guards that run the show there. But they come back into games by hitting a couple threes, making a couple defensive stops. And you name the first two guys that are absolutely the lead two, and the first two guys in Indiana need to have on their scouting report. But also Jalen Coleman-Lands and Michael Fink need to be there too. Fink, again, 6'10" forward. It's scary to have him, taking eight threes a game, or he could take 8 from down low. You never know. So he's inconsistent with that, so you don't know what to expect. So whoever's on him, whether that be Bielefeld or even Troy Williams, maybe even Thomas Bryant, whoever that is needs to have both eyes on him at all times and get in his grill when he's up on top, because he can shoot the three as well as beat you off the dribble and make a post move or two. So we'll see how that goes. But those two guys also need to be watched.
Yeah, on that point of Fink shooting threes, bringing Thomas Bryant out of the post could be huge in this game. If you bring him out, you lose a rebounder down low, and if you're shooting the three, that's long rebounds. Or if Thomas Bryant isn't down there protecting the rim, you get Nunn and Hill or anybody else cutting the basket. You got a wide open lane right there. So maybe bringing Thomas Bryant out, it could hurt the Hoosiers. Maybe we see a little bit of zone in this game just so that doesn't hurt them. But that is an interesting point to keep your eye on. And then my last point for this game is you have to exploit their weakness on the boards. 32.1 rebounds per game is a team that's good for 332nd in the country. So not very high up on the list there. But this team has had a lot of injuries to their big guys. They've had a lot of injuries in the offseason. It goes back to last season too. This team is just really, it's like the Texas Rangers of college basketball. So many injuries there, and it's really hard to get a team together, but they have been kind of getting it together. But let me pull this up here. They're only 1-3 in the Big Ten so far, with their win coming on Sunday against Purdue. So maybe that was a little bit of a fluke with Purdue on the road. Who knows what happened there? But in the end, this is a team Indiana should probably take care of, especially at home. Ken Pom likes Indiana to beat them by 13, 86% chance of winning. At home against Illinois, that's more of a chance he gives Indiana beating Illinois than Indiana beating Minnesota on Saturday. So if that says anything, that's something to keep your eyes on right there. But keeping them off the boards, getting rebounds, offensive rebounds, Indiana has been great on the offensive boards this season. If they can continue that, they should have no problem getting by this Illinois team.
And that's an interesting note that you brought up on the Ken Pom. Nice work there. That's interesting because Illinois scares me far more than Minnesota does, despite going on the road into a tough environment in the barn. Playing in Assembly Hall with 17,000 behind your back is nothing like going on the road into a Big Ten game. So that's interesting to me. I don't quite. It doesn't make sense to me, but Illinois scares me far more than Minnesota does. Just to throw that out there for what it's worth, just because they have more shooting weapons and they can really take advantage of Indiana's vulnerability on the defensive end.
Yeah, I mean that guard duo of Malcolm Hill and Kendrick Nunn. I mean that could be one of the best guard duos in the country right now. And if they were clicking like they were against Purdue, Indiana better be careful because those two can really light it up on any given night. Yeah,
and that's going to call for a defensive step up from the guard play of Indiana, which is a perfect transition to the second part, which is a segment that is yet to be named. We'll have to come up with that at some point. And if anyone listening or watching has an idea, you can tweet at us. This is basically a segment in which, for the upcoming games for the Hoosiers rather, we pick out one player for Indiana that needs to step up and make a difference. Obviously everyone needs to step up and make a difference, but the one guy that we think could be more or less the X factor. And perfect transition against Minnesota, I think that's Robert Johnson, because the Gophers can't score. I talked all about that earlier, and his minutes have had a serious spike since the loss of James Blackman. This is a great chance for him to step up defensively, improve his shooting against an overall weak team in Minnesota, so he can improve in both sides of the ball. Defensively, he can lock down, play better perimeter defense, and be better defending the drive. And then on offense, he can hit his shots and take care of the turnovers, take care of the ball, wipe away some of those turnovers. I believe he had 5 last game to just 1 assist, which you never want to see that. You never want to see 5 turnovers, especially when it's backed up with just 1 assist. But we'll see if he can back that up. And I think this is a good opportunity for him to step up against, a not great team that doesn't have a lot of weapons.
Yeah, and on my side, I got to say Max Bielfeldt. I mean, this is a game where hopefully Indiana can build a lead, get the bench players in there. Bielfeldt's been kind of that 6th, 7th man off the bench. Depends on what kind of game is going on. But I think Bielfeldt needs to step up. He's been a little bit quiet of late following that Rutgers game where he had 18 points, 14 rebounds. I think this is a game where Bielfeldt can get in, make a difference in the game. He's played against Minnesota in the past, coming from Michigan, that 5th-year senior transfer. So I think Bielfeldt has a big chance to step up and have a big game for this team. Maybe you can give Hartman a couple minutes on the bench, a little bit extra rest, Bryant giving him some rest, and get Bielfeldt in there, get a good run out of him, maybe get another double-double out of him. I don't know. But it would be good to see Max Bielfeldt have another big game for Indiana.
Yeah, I like that too. Bielfeldt has been kind of the, unsung hero, I would say, for the Hoosiers this season. He hasn't gotten a ton of credit or attention, but he's making some nice moves down low. He's grabbing some boards. He's making smart passes. He's been a pretty clean player so far, and I'd like to see him keep doing what he's doing because it's lovely to see, and he's making an impact on the game in ways that don't show up in the stat sheet and ways that do at the same time. So it's nice to see that, and I agree. I'm looking forward to him, and I think he could have a nice game again because he's been very consistent throughout the season. What about Illinois? Who's the guy to step up against Illinois? Who's your X factor or pick to click? Maybe what we go with. Tossed around between the two of us before and confirmed by Jared he likes it. So we may roll with the pick to click. So who is your first official pick to click for the Illinois game?
For the Illinois game, I got to go Thomas Bryant. I mean, I talked about how they're 332nd in the country in rebounding right now, just over 30 rebounds a game. Thomas Bryant down low, I think, is due for a big game on the boards. Hopefully Fink doesn't bring him out at all to the three-point line. As you were mentioning, he shoots a lot of three-pointers. Hopefully Bryant can be down low, be a factor down low. And if Illinois doesn't really have a big post presence with Hill and Nunn, those two guards out on the wing just kind of running around doing their thing, hopefully Bryant can be down low making a difference, and hopefully he can grab a bunch of rebounds for this Hoosiers team.
Yeah, great points there. And with that, it's interesting that you mentioned that about Fink, because if he does pull Thomas Bryant out, that could very potentially come close to eliminating him from the rebounding game. And that's going to be huge. That's going to call for Troy Williams to step up and do a lot of the dirty work. He may not need 19 like he had against IPFW, but if Fink is drawing Thomas Bryant out to the perimeter and trying to beat him on the dribble or a little stutter step or what have you, that's going to eliminate Bryant from the rebounding game on a lot of possessions. And that's really, really crucial for the Hoosiers to have him down low. And if he can't be there, someone's got to be there. So if Bryant's on his A game, I agree with you there. You hit that right on the head, but obviously I can't look past Kendrick Nunn. So I think that this one's on Yogi Ferrell. Nunn averages almost 19 a game. And the amazing thing about that is he's shooting almost 50% and plays 37 minutes a game. So he's out there almost every tick of the clock, shooting 50%, taking threes, driving, pull-up jumpers. He's doing it all. But the thing about him that separates him between, the scoring point guards and the true point guards is he doesn't like to distribute as much as Yogi does. He's averaging less than 2 assists per game, if my memory is correct, which I believe it is. So he's going to try and create his own shot. And it's up to Yogi to stick with him and force him to get rid of that ball. Because if Kendrick Nunn is forced to get rid of the ball and give it to a Malcolm Hill or a Michael Fink or Jalen Coleman-Lands or maybe even down low, that's going to eliminate him from scoring the ball, obviously. If he doesn't have the ball in his hands, it's pretty hard to score. That's basketball 101 analysis that you won't get anywhere else. But it's also going to take away some shot-creating opportunities and some dribble drives and, a give and go or a pick and roll or what have you. So Kendrick Nunn is the floor general, and he's the leader of that team, no doubt about it, night in and night out. So if Yogi can not eliminate him, because it's pretty hard to eliminate a guy like Kendrick Nunn, but if he can limit him offensively, have a cool shooting night, get up in his grill and stop the drives, then I think this game will be in the Hoosiers' hands for almost the full 40 minutes. But it's on Yogi and Thomas Bryant. Those guys need to step up because they've got tough matchups, maybe the toughest that they faced all year.
Yeah, and it'll be really interesting to see if Tom Crean does go to that 2-3 zone. We've seen them kind of switch between man-to-man, 2-3 zone, maybe a little bit more on the man-to-man. But with a team that doesn't really have a post presence and can shoot the three, it'll be interesting to see what kind of defense he decides to run. Because if you get Fink out there, then you have nobody down low, and you have to keep Thomas Bryant down there, which is probably a good thing because this team does not rebound the ball well. And if you make them shoot the three, maybe they'll have an off night. Maybe you'll give it to players who probably shouldn't be shooting threes. Maybe a box and one, get Malcolm Hill on man-to-man with Yogi Ferrell, like you were mentioning, locking down on defense. But I don't think this Illinois team is really going to outscore Indiana. So maybe Tom Crean can tinker a little bit with the defensive matchup or what defense he decides to run in that game against Illinois.
Yeah, it'll be a chess match between Gross and Crean, how they're going to adjust defensively if Kendrick Nunn and everyone gets hot. Prediction time, our first ever. So, obviously we just talked about them for a little while. Two subpar Big Ten teams, one coming into town. We got to go on the road for another. Who wins the first one? IU, Minnesota, in the barn. Who do you got?
Oh, I got Indiana in this one. I don't really think it's going to be all that close. I think Indiana is going to come out hot like they did against, maybe not as hot as they did against Ohio State, because that was a pretty good 10-0 run to start the game. But I think they're going to have a commanding victory. Maybe not in the first half. It might be a little chess match like it was against Nebraska or Rutgers early on. But I think in the second half they're going to pull away and really put a stamp on this game and get out of cold Minnesota, as the Seahawks showed last week, with the victory and get back here to Indiana.
I agree with you there. And Minnesota at times, at home specifically, has been prone to shock some teams. That's a tough place to play, whether it's Tubby Smith at the head or Richard Pitino. That's a tough place to play, but I think Indiana gets it done. I mean, the fans can only bring you so many points up on the scoreboard. But in the end, the team's got to do the dirty work. And Minnesota doesn't have a great one. So I like Indiana by double digits in this one. And I like the same thing against Illinois. I think it could be close going into halftime, but if it's close at the start of the second half, really contradictory considering what I just said, but Assembly Hall is going to be rocking, and the Hoosiers are going to get behind the fans, and I think they pull away. Illinois rather just doesn't have enough.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Illinois is going to be able to keep up with Indiana offensively. I mean, Nunn and Hill can only take you so far, and Indiana's got Yogi Ferrell, you got Colin Hartman, you got Nick Zeisloft, you got so many weapons, even without James Blackman Jr., that they can score the basketball so many different ways. It's going to be a matchup nightmare for Illinois as well, because Thomas Bryant, he could be due for a big game on the block too, not just rebounding, but he could have a big offensive night as well. I think Indiana should have pretty much no issue with Illinois. I don't want to say, I kind of hesitate to say that, but I think they should be able to put Illinois in their back pocket pretty quickly in this one.
Yeah, and in a perfect world against these two mediocre teams, Indiana should get by with two double-digit victories, but anything can happen in college basketball. And that leads us to our final segment, which is a little different than what you're used to on the Assembly Call. This is where we're going to look at the Big Ten as a whole. And for the final couple minutes of each week's show, we're going to look at the big matchups in the conference, which this week, sadly, there's only one. And on off weeks where there are only one, two, maybe three, a stretch three good quality matchups, we're going to preview an upset that we think may happen in the next 7 days that you need to look out for that may change the landscape of either college basketball as a whole or the Big Ten. So first off, only one big game this week, and that's tomorrow night. Iowa travels to Michigan State. The Hawkeyes are finding a little bit of magic athletically. What's going on with them this year? You got their football team having an undefeated regular season, made it to the Rose Bowl. Their basketball team apparently forgot how to lose.
You don't want to mention that Rose Bowl right there.
Don't bring that up. Yeah, I won't talk about the actual
fans.
I won't talk about the actual game, but I'll just talk about getting there. They got there. That's what matters.
Yeah,
but
fair enough.
The point is, they figured out ways to win on the football field, and they're figuring out ways to win on the hardwood. I mean, they're ranked 16th right now. They're coming out of nowhere, and they've got a chance to travel to East Lansing tomorrow, steal a win, and maybe jump into the national spotlight. Do they do it? What do you think?
I don't think they're going to get it done. Denzel Valentine, he's at home. it's his first game back from injury at the Breslin Center, and this is a big-time opponent. He came back against Penn State. I mean, that's just Penn State basketball, not a whole lot going on there. But this is Iowa. They're undefeated in the Big Ten right now. Michigan State has one loss already, so they are not going to want to follow the 2 losses this early in the season, with Maryland coming up, I believe, next Saturday on the 23rd. So I think Denzel Valentine, I think you can get a triple-double out of him tomorrow night. Him against Jared Uthoff is going to be a great matchup. I don't know if they'll be matched up against each other, but they'll be on the floor at the same time for most of the game. It's going to be a fun one to watch, but I think Michigan State is going to get the win when the final buzzer sounds. What about you?
Yeah, I agree with you there. And, for the sake of argument, I'd love to disagree, but I never, ever bet against Tom Izzo. That is college basketball 101. If you have Tom Izzo on his home floor with the top 5 Sparty team, you don't bet against him no matter who's in town. So, you nailed it with Denzel Valentine likely coming back. According to Coach Izzo, it's his first game in a month. He's returning on the home floor, prime time against the ranked opponent, top 16, 17 opponent. Bottom line, if this guy's not the best player in the country, he's one of the best players in the country, and he makes the most impact on his team than almost anyone I've seen. He's a triple-double, double-double machine, and Michigan State's really missed his energy and playmaking ability, but they've stayed afloat. So all those role players are more comfortable in their roles, and when he comes back, it'll be like weight lifted off their shoulders, and everyone can kind of flourish. That's in a perfect world. And with a near-perfect coach like Tom Izzo, it could happen. So, this may be where Michigan State's season turns magical. Who knows? Izzo's a great coach, and Valentine's a great player, but when you got a guy coming back from injury, especially with a guy that has as much of an impact as Valentine does, it's interesting to see how the coaches handle the game and how that guy handles the game. He may try and take over. He may try and ease back into it, and that's on Tom Izzo. I trust Tom Izzo with that, as I trust Tom Izzo with almost anything basketball-related. So I think Michigan State wins tomorrow, and I think they don't lose for a long, long time. I think this season could be special for them.
Yeah, I mean, you saw Michigan State when they didn't have Denzel Valentine. I mean, that was not, I don't think, a top 15 team, maybe not even a top 20 team. I mean, they just really didn't have it. Denzel Valentine brings so much to that team. I mean, he's a triple-double machine. He got one against Kansas earlier this year. I mean, he can score, he can rebound, he can dish it out. I mean, this guy is the complete package right now for Michigan State. And I agree, if they can get past Iowa, they got Maryland coming in next week. That's going to be another huge game at the Breslin Center. So they got that one at home. I don't know. Yeah, Michigan State's dangerous. And, I mean, I'm glad Indiana doesn't have them until mid-February. And we only play them once, even though it's in East Lansing. But still, I mean, this is Tom Izzo with a big team like this. You don't want to mess around at all.
Yeah, roger that. I mean, it's just all eyes are going to be on Sparty now. All eyes are going to be on Sparty and Maryland in the Big Ten. Maybe Iowa if they can pull off this win, but it's Sparty and Maryland and then a pack of 4 teams and then everyone else. Now, speaking of everyone else, and now that we know that that's the only big matchup in the Big Ten, an upset's got to happen, right? It happened last night. Michigan took down Maryland. Melo Trimble only had 2 points in that one. That was a shocking victory for the Wolverines without Karis LeVert. Now, who gets it done in the next 7 days? Who is going to win? Who are you going to say, Michael, I told you so? 7 days from right this very second, who's going to get the upset this week in the conference?
Okay, even though I just said Michigan State is really, really good, I think going to Madison on Sunday could be a huge upset for Wisconsin. They've only won once in the Big Ten this year. They almost got past Maryland until a Melo Trimble 3 won them the game. I think going to Wisconsin is always a dangerous game, and I think Michigan State better watch out because Wisconsin is going to be hungry for a win. Nigel Hayes is going to have a big game. Bronson Koenig is going to have a big game. They have so many playmakers that have yet to really break out of their shell. Nigel Hayes has not been that great in the Big Ten so far. I think Michigan State better watch out on Sunday at Wisconsin. The Badgers are hungry, and they need a win.
I'm with you there. And Wisconsin just went down last night on the road, and you nailed it. They're hungry. They need a win, and that's pretty much all a team needs in Big Ten college basketball to pull something off. But speaking of that team that beat Wisconsin last night, the Northwestern Wildcats, don't look now because it is early, but Northwestern is 15-3. They're not your typical 10-7, 11-6, whatever you want. They are 15-3, and their only 3 losses this year are to Ohio State, who they played close, Maryland, who's a top 5 team, and North Carolina. Not a bad 3 losses. They've won 2 straight in the conference. They blew out Minnesota, and they just beat Wisconsin. Now they've got the ball rolling. They're healthy. Bryant McIntosh is their point guard, and he is the best player in the Big Ten that you've never heard of. I'm telling you that right now. They've got this freshman named Derek Pardon who comes off the bench, and he can provide an instant spark matchup with anyone. And going back to last year when Northwestern played Maryland, who I forgot to mention, they're going to beat Maryland next Tuesday on the road. They're going to beat Maryland on the road, and this begins Maryland's free fall.
Wow.
Last year, at about the same time of year, I think the beginning of January, Northwestern traveled to College Park, scored the first basket of the game, and led Maryland for 39 minutes and 47 seconds. Des Wells, the former Maryland standout, had a lucky tip-in as the shot clock was expiring with about 13 seconds on the clock to give them a 1-point lead, and Northwestern came down and missed an open game-winning look as time expired. They led for 99% of the game. Their lineup is identical this year as it was last year. It's much improved as expected when you have the same starting lineup. Expect a different outcome, and that's going to cause a major shakeup in the top 10 and maybe even the Big Ten race as a whole.
You and Northwestern couldn't put it past you to get a Northwestern reference in here. But hey, I think this could be the year that they finally get it done, make it to the tournament. I mean, this is, as you said, they have the players. I really like Chris Collins as a coach. I think he has a chance to lead them to a place they've never been before.
I agree with you, and like I said, 15-3 is not bad. I mean, unless I don't know if 15-3 is bad for anyone. I mean, look at some top 25 teams are 15-3. They're looking to get a top 6 seed in the tournament. Now, this is where their schedule really heats up. But they've got the ball rolling with 2 straight wins. We'll see. We'll keep an eye on them because they come into Bloomington in a week and a half. So we'll preview that one a week from tonight, and I'll have a lot to say about that. I'm sure Jared's going to have some fun with us on that one. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that battle when it comes. But we do have one Twitter question. From a guy named Jordan at the G stands for Gets. He asks, what dark horse teams have the best chance to win the Big Ten tournament? I'd say, Jordan, look no further than Bloomington, Indiana. I mean, all eyes right now are pointing to Michigan State and Maryland. Indiana's on a roll. They're first in the Big Ten. Yes, they lost James Blackman Jr., but Robert Johnson's playing well. Other guys can score. Guys can come off the bench and produce that. And Robert Johnson's an upgrade defensively from James Blackman. I'm pretty sure everyone can agree on that. So Indiana has looked great defensively. Obviously, that first game against Wisconsin was an adjustment game. They pulled it out, showed a lot of grit that we haven't really seen in a while from this team. And they destroyed Ohio State from the opening tip. So it will be interesting to see how these next 2 games go against teams they should handle very well. And if they can do that, they will be on my radar until – God forbid they slip up. If they do, then my answer will change. But if they can continue this trend, who knows? Maybe they could, looking at their schedule, I'll pull that up just now. They've got Minnesota, Illinois. Their first real test, they go at Wisconsin, which could be an upset alert on the 26th. But their first real test is Iowa on February 11th, and that's at home. And then they go at Michigan State, and then they finish it up with Maryland at home, and they got Purdue 2 weeks before that. So they don't have a lot of big-time matchups in the Big Ten. They could exit Big Ten play with 5 or 6 losses on the year. So that would leave them with 2 or 3 losses in the conference, which would be remarkable and incredibly optimistic. But who's to say it can't happen?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I think Indiana has as good a shot as anybody as kind of a dark horse. But I hate to do this. I really do. But I got to say Purdue. I mean, this team, I know. I hate it. Purdue is really good. I mean, they showed spurts of it early in the season. They were a top 10 team. They have fallen of late. They're 2-2 in the Big Ten. But this team has got to get it together. I mean, you got 3 7-footers in Swanigan, Haas, and Hammonds. I mean, that's and Hammonds can come out, shoot the 3. He can pass it. Swanigan can shoot the 3 too. I mean, this team is so dynamic. And I think they're a matchup issue for so many teams, Indiana being one of them. And I think they really could make some noise in the Big Ten tournament just with that size. I mean, we saw UC Irvine. They made the tournament last year with Amadou Ndiaye at 7'6". They almost pulled the upset of Louisville. I mean, that's a really low-level team. But you see what size can do for you. And I think Purdue has that size, and they just need to kind of work out the kinks a little bit. And once they get going, I think they're going to be a dangerous team come March. And I really hate to say that, but it's just they're a solid team, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Hate to do it, though.
As much as it probably pains you to say it, it pains everyone else here to hear that. But you're not wrong. As much as it pains me to say that and everyone to hear that, it's been a terrible last 2 minutes for everyone watching, I'm sure. I'm sure their hearts just shattering right before our eyes. But
I'm sorry, everybody. I'm sorry.
We're very sorry, but the fact of the matter is Purdue's pretty good. And they do pose a matchup nightmare for a lot of teams with, you mentioned it, their big men play. It could come down to Indiana, Purdue, Maryland, Michigan State as the 4 top teams in the Big Ten. I think that's what it's going to come down to. Iowa, I don't think, has what it takes. Michigan will never get it going. Ohio State's in a slump. Wisconsin's in a slump. It could be those 4 teams. I think it will be. But in terms of dark horses, look no further than the state of Indiana. I think those teams very well have what it takes to make a run to the Big Ten title, regular season and in the tournament, Big Ten tournament.
Yeah, I mean, Indiana plays Maryland and Purdue in 2 of their last 4 games. They go on the road to Iowa, also in that stretch, and to Illinois. I mean, that's going to be a tough stretch for the Hoosiers. So if they just got to bank wins right now, get as many as they can now, and then when it comes to that time where you just got to turn it on and pull out a victory however you can, that's just what you got to do. You got to play with the big boys eventually if you want to make anything of the season, and that's kind of where we're at right now because we're kind of in a part of the season where Indiana can take advantage of its schedule. They're in first place right now, and I think we all like what's happening right now. Are there things to clean up? Yes, obviously. There's always things to clean up. As Crean said, there was about 4 things he could clean up after that 25-point win over Ohio State on Sunday. But I really like where this Indiana team is going, and I think they could definitely be a dark horse. As this is Maryland and Michigan State's conference right now, maybe even Iowa if they can get by Michigan State tomorrow.
Could be. And you mentioned this is the part of Indiana's schedule where they can really take control, and you're absolutely right. Michigan State and Maryland play not too far in the future. Am I wrong on that? I think they play maybe next week or the week following. But they do play in the next 14 days. I'm 99% certain. One of them is going down.
It's next Saturday in East Lansing on the 23rd. So
one of them's going down.
That's a good one.
One of them's going down. As I predicted, Maryland's going down against Northwestern in 6 days. Iowa could take down Michigan State. Michigan State could take down Iowa. Iowa's undefeated in the Big Ten, so that would drop them another game below the Hoosiers if the Hoosiers can win these next 2. They'd be at least a game and a half ahead in first place with a couple soft opponents coming on back-to-back. I mean, they could win the next 5 and be in serious control of the conference because teams are going to go down, but they just need to stay focused because this is the part of their schedule where they just need to step on everyone's throats and establish their dominance in the conference because they really have what it takes. They really do. I mean, it's that simple, and all they have to do is execute, and they're very capable of doing it.
Yeah, I mean, Ken Palm doesn't have Indiana losing until Michigan, which is on February 2nd. That's at Michigan. So that's going the rest of the month of January unbeaten. And then he only has them losing 2 more times at Michigan State and at Iowa. So, I mean, 3 losses in the Big Ten. I mean, and after losing Blackman injury, even though the team might be a better team without him, that's pretty – I mean, that's fantastic to even think about. 3 losses in the Big Ten after what we thought the season was going to be is quite a turnaround for this team, and I think they're very capable of doing it too.
I agree, but I'm a little confused at those 3 projected losses, Michigan State, Iowa, and Michigan? He's got us losing to Michigan, who's not more than a handful of games over 500, but defeating both Maryland and Purdue? Is that correct?
That is correct. Those are all road games that he projects us to lose. So, and it's only a 60% chance of Michigan even winning that game. He has us or Indiana losing by 3. So, I don't know. I mean, this can be a fun rest of the Big Ten slate. I'm really excited.
It should be. And these next couple games are absolutely crucial. I'm sure we're just beating a dead horse here. But these next 2 games are very winnable and very crucial both. And I don't know. That's about all we got.
Yeah, I mean, that's all I got. I don't know if I can say any more about the schedule. I just really like where this team's at right now. It's a good place to be.
Absolutely. They're in a position to take over, and they very well could, but, we'll see what happens. 1 game at a time. Even though these opponents are weaker, take care of business, win the first one, look ahead to the next one. That's all about focus. You got to stay focused in the Big Ten.
Yep, that's what it's all about.
All right. Well, this was a lot of fun. I'm very much looking forward to doing this again next week.
Oh yeah, no, let's keep this ball rolling. We've got a good start right here, I think.
Absolutely. And if anyone has any suggestions or questions, segment possibilities, we're all ears. We're all ears. You can tweet at Assembly Call. You can tweet at Josh Eastern, or you can tweet at M_Dugan44. Anything you want. Questions about the Hoosiers. Question about the Big Ten. A suggestion for the show. Anything, we're open to hearing it, and we will listen to anyone that speaks.
Yeah, and we could also use a better show name, better than the Big Ten Roundup. I mean, that's just kind of
The Big Ten.
what the show's about.
Yeah.
I mean, we need something to work with in the name category. So if you got anything, let us know.
Yeah, that's mainly what we're trying to do here is get you to give us some information for a potential name. But if you have anything else, that works too.
Yes.
All right. Well, Josh, this was fun.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to do this next week. Hopefully, Indiana can take care of business in these next two and get to 6-0 in the Big Ten. I mean, that's fantastic.
I agree with you. We'll see what happens.
Yes, we will. So thank you for watching this midweek special edition of the Assembly Call. For Michael Dugan, I am Josh Eastern. Tune into the halftime show and the postgame show on Saturday. I believe tip is at 12:30 Eastern on BTN. Halftime postgame show right here on the Assembly Call. So I guess we will see you then. And for Michael and I, we will see you next week. Go Hoosiers.